So, this pastor here is going to explain to us how the Christians in the Christian community really should be looking at this election, voting in general, because at this time of the year, particularly, usually there's always some sort of fights breaking out, some sort of disagreements. I mean, you have people who've been friends for years upon years, and I see it all over where they just stop being friends over a political reason because someone's not voting the same way they're voting. But besides the whole Republican, Democrat, which political party you're on, as believers, yes, we still have to obey the laws of this land. We still play a huge part in this community, in the world. So we do got to be wise about these things. For the people out here who are wanting to vote, for the people who are out here that are voting, if you find yourself being a believer in that process, this information right here that you're getting ready to hear it's eye-opening. It definitely is something to take into consideration to help us make educated decisions, but not just educated decisions based off of what the world is saying, because there's always going to be propaganda all over the place, and that's something we always have to look out for and be aware of. But we have to make sure that we're really doing it in Christ, if you will, having that understanding and making that educated decision in Christ with the right knowledge. So let's get into this clip. We'll talk about it after. Here we go.
I can't vote for a party that is for all kind of sexual perversions. I can't do it. I can't vote for a party that's going to accept transgenders going into women's restrooms. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't go with a party that wants to cut little girls' breasts off to make them boys. I can't go with a party that says you can be a boy today and a girl tomorrow. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't support a party that wants to remove God from its party platform. You in trouble when the nation forgets God. I can't follow a party that wants to sexualize our children in school, put drag queens in front of them, reading them little children's stories. I can't do it.
Isn't that pretty crazy? Like, isn't that wild? I mean, I even know for me as a kid, when I would see like drag queens, or if that stuff would come on TV, a commercial, or someone just so happened to be dressed that way out in public. I mean, it wasn't as common as it is today, but it still was happening. To me, I'm gonna just be honest, bro. It was always scary, and I don't think personally that that's something that you should be presenting to a child. You know, it's one thing to have the argument of people saying that they need to be able to be free to be who they are, and this is who they are, and they were born this way, and don't offend me, and all that. It's one thing to have that argument, but it's a whole other argument of saying, okay, be yourself. If you're into all the heebie jeebie, be yourself. That is totally fine. Go ahead. But why do we have to involve the children? Why do you have to be the one out of every and anything else in the world? Why do we have to use you? Why do you have to be the example or the influence that we put in front of our children? Those are the questions that nobody's answering. Furthermore, they're just putting this in there saying that it's for equality, but it's not for equality. It's really for nothing other than indoctrination. Let's keep this going.
I can't support a party that wants to take the rights of parents away. In California right now, parents are being arrested because they won't go along with the sexualization of their children. But there are many parents that are compromising. Y'all got to make a decision. It's either God or the devil.
Because there is no gray area. There is no gray area. It's interesting, man. And like I said, this isn't a whole, bash on, people who identify as other things than what they clearly are. It's not a bash on it, and then some people say that it's not mental health. But what I really want to know is that if this isn't mental health, if this is not a mental health situation, and this is really who you are, and you didn't just create this person. You didn't just make this up. Why is it that the actual documentation that proves who you are, your birth certificate, if you will, why does it only specify one of two genders? But yet we find ourselves in a time today where we're having to decipher and shuffle through 15 different genders. I mean, I don't even know how many numbers it's up to at this point, but it's just something to really think about. That how are we allowing such a thing to dictate what kind of a society we're turning into? How are we allowing these things to seep into our schools, our children being taught this, and no one is fighting back? No one is speaking against it. Why are we allowing this to happen? We can't just sit back and just let this continue to happen. We can't. So it's not about, oh, I like this person, I don't like this person, I feel this way, I don't. You have to look at what's happening under each individual authority, if you will. What's the reality? What's going on? What are these people promoting? Is it against your morals and values? Is it something that you are actually against? Is it something that the Bible speaks against? Are there things taking place, moving in a direction that could be destructive, harmful for us as individuals, for our children going to schools? Like this gentleman said, that in the state of California, that's where I'm at, in California. And Governor Gavin Newsom is just, I'm not, that's a whole different topic for a different discussion, but it's just allowing, California has become one of the most, what was I saying it the other day? I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, California has become one of the worst, best places to stay. Because it's a great place to live. You got beaches. I mean, you've got amusement parks. I mean, there's so much out here in California. You've got great weather, but it's become one of the worst, best places to be. And because a lot of this is being infiltrated. It's a big state, yeah. A lot of people like to come here. A lot of people live here. A lot of people like to be here. But even in the schools, as he said, here in California, that's what's happening. And furthermore, if the children are in class, if the children are in school, and they identify as something completely different than what they are, the teacher does not have to disclose this to the parent. Furthermore, the teacher is actually encouraged by this law that was implemented. The teacher is actually encouraged not to notify the child's parents of this behavior, but rather to support them along their journey because this is what they want to do. When did we start letting 10-year-olds make their own decisions? When did we start letting children have separate lives outside of the guardianship of their parents? And why are we allowing this to be something that's normal? This isn't a joke, guys. They want to attack the younger people. They want to put all this emphasis on the children, and they want to indoctrinate them, because if we can start it at such a young age, by the time they're older, well, now you have an entire generation suffering mental illness. You have an entire generation who only knows what they want for themselves, but have no idea who God is and what he wants for them, let alone what he has for them, all the great treasures that lie within. But this is something we have to think about. You got people up in arms right now saying, well, I'm going to vote for a black person, or I'm only voting for the white person, or I don't know when we are going to stop allowing ourselves to be fooled, allowing ourselves to be played, allowing ourselves to be manipulated, stuck, trapped, used, abused, whatever the case may be, by this whole notion, false notion, that race matters. You have people strictly voting just because of color of skin. What? We can't afford to be that blind. We can't afford to allow other people, the masses, that might be following the wrong crowds and the wrong idea, we can allow people to make decisions for us. For some of you out there, you might have children already, you may already have a family, and for others, you may aspire to have that one day. These are things that people need to think about. These are things that we have to wake up and realize that there's evil forces and evil people, if you will, for that matter, that are trying to implement these bad things into our societies, into our homes, into our children's, into their minds. And there's so many houses these days where there's families where there may not be a father present. So it's very easy for the children to get influenced, manipulated, turned down the wrong path by whatever negative agenda, whatever negative advice, whatever negative direction that the society, this society that we're seeing, as that pastor said, and we're watching, is happening to us right now, just full of destruction, full of lies, full of deceit, full of hate, full of greed, full of selfishness. These things are real, bro. These things are real. And I know we see these political figures in their nice clothes. And of course, when we see them on the cameras, more times than not, we're going to see the best version of them. But that's typically everyone. But we all people, and we all have the ability to be selfish at times, have the ability to be greedy at times, have the ability to not seek the higher regards of others, but to only seek for our own needs and our own selfish wants and desires. It's human nature, man. It's human nature. So we have to realize that, understand that, and know that that could happen with anybody. And we need to have the discernment of Jesus Christ that is given to us through having a relationship with him, getting in his word, getting to know him, so that way we can see these things clearly. So we can point it out, just like that pastor was just pointing out when we heard it in that clip, about how we just cannot be allowing this to happen. Doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter what you identify as, it doesn't matter what your race is, doesn't matter if you're man, woman, whatever your it doesn't matter. We have to make sure that these things that we're already seeing slowly creeping into our society, into our homes, into our families, into our children, we have to make sure that that stuff does not happen. Something to think about, man. That's all I got for you guys on this one. I appreciate you guys as always staying all the way to the end. I appreciate that, man, more than you know. But that's all I got. To the next one, y'all. I'm out.